Good evening and welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us for President Fiorentino's Fireside Chat, our unofficial kickoff to Ram Fam Weekend. My name is Lexi McCarthy and I'm the Director of Parent and Family Relations. I'm thrilled you've chosen to join us this evening. It gives me great pleasure to introduce President Chris Fiorentino. President Fiorentino's roots at Westchester are broad and deep. He began teaching here in 1983 while working on his doctoral degree in economics. President Fiorentino started as an assistant professor and rose to become the dean of the College of Business and Public Affairs, now the College of Business and Public Management, a position he held for more than 20 years. In 2017, he became Westchester's 15th president. Welcome, President Fiorentino.
Thank you very much, Lexi, and I'm delighted that I'm joined this evening by my wife, the First Lady of Westchester, Sue Fiorentino, and we are really thrilled to have the opportunity to spend a little time with you this evening on Ram Fam Weekend. This is not the way any of us expected this to be, both in terms of family weekend and in terms of the entire semester. But we're delighted that you're here for the weekend events, at least virtually, and we hope that you'll take advantage of as many of the events as you can. I know Sue and I are going to try to spend some time this weekend doing the virtual 5K. We've gotten our 5K t-shirts and we're going to go out there and participate in that. First of all, I would like to thank you all for hanging in there with us. As I just said, this semester is not unfolding the way that any of us expected it to. This is a residential university. Most of our students are 18 to 22 years old and they're looking for the full college experience. Many live in residence halls on the campus, many live in the neighborhoods, and another share commute from home and spend time on the campus. And that's certainly our bread and butter. That's what we are here to do, and we know that's what our students are preferring to be able to participate in. It hasn't worked out that way for us since last March, and obviously we've had to make a lot of changes starting in the spring and then through the summer. And I want to talk a little bit about some of them. I know that as we're going through this pandemic, all of us are facing challenges. Each and every one of you is facing challenges in your families, and our lives have been altered, and we're just trying to make the best of it. And what we're learning is that we're all resilient, we're able to adapt, and as a result, we've set ourselves up to be successful. I want to say that the decision to continue the university's operations remotely in this fall semester was a difficult decision. When we announced in late May, early June, that our intent was to open face-to-face, we really meant it. We were hoping we were going to be able to do that, and we set to work trying to figure out exactly what that was going to look like. As we got into July and the incidence of the virus was ticking up, we were processing what it meant to have socially distanced classes, and we just made the decision that this was not going to work. Frankly, I don't know if you've talked to anybody attending universities now where they're practicing social distancing and they have students under very restrictive circumstances. What I'm hearing is that's not what college life is intended to be like either. We made the announcement early on in July, about 6 weeks before the semester started, because we wanted to give our students time to decide what they wanted to do with their families. And we wanted to give our faculty the maximum amount of time to transition into this kind of remote delivery that we're working under. I'm very happy to say that we were bracing for a decline in enrollments. We assumed that some students might choose not to continue to attend under these circumstances, but we actually ended up having a small increase in enrollment. We went up by about 50 students this year over last year, which was really quite surprising, and we were very pleased to see that. In terms of this decision to go remotely, I've seen some statistics that suggest that schools that did choose to bring everybody back face-to-face, the counties that those schools are existing in are seeing up to 1,000 or more new cases every day as a result of the colleges being open and operating. And that's one of the things we were trying to avoid. We were looking at the overall safety of our campus community, our faculty, our staff, and our students. And we felt that this was the correct course of action to take. And we continue to believe that that was the right thing. What I did not want to have happen was that we move everybody in on August 23rd or thereabouts. And then a week or so later, we have to tell everybody to leave. And I'm sure you're aware that there have been schools all over the country who ended up doing exactly that, including some major schools in this region. So here we are, we're making the best of it. And there are lots of opportunities for students to get involved in activities. I know that the classes are challenging. I'll say a little more about that in a few minutes. But I'm very proud of our faculty and staff. They work very hard to transition. Most of our staff right now is working remotely, working from home, running our offices. Our faculty are teaching primarily in remote mode. We do have about 1,000 students who are participating in some sort of face-to-face activity with social distancing. Some of our nursing students and education students, music students, but generally speaking, of our 17,700 plus students, the overwhelming majority are attending classes remotely. We know this is a challenge for students. This is not the type of class that people were expecting. We have all sorts of opportunities for assistance, mentoring assistance on the co-curricular side of the campus. The student organizations and clubs are operating. We have all sorts of support, the counseling center, the health center, the entire student affairs operation is available to support students. Again, I'll say a little bit more about that in a few minutes.
Chris and I are the proud parents of 3 children, 2 of whom are WCU alum, and now also 4 grandchildren. And so we've been in your shoes. We remember what it's like to have college age kids. And even under the best of circumstances, it can be challenging to be a parent parenting a child in college, and you kind of have to have some sleepless nights, but then there are also some really wonderful moments as you watch them transition into adulthood. But that's also a time when you have to kind of learn when to step in and help and when to kind of back off and cheer from the sidelines. So, we know that you want the best for your child, your student, and rest assured that we want that same thing as well.
And I do want to emphasize the fact that we are focused on the success of each and every one of our students. We're not addressing this challenge in the aggregate where we're just thinking about how we're managing this large population of students. Each student has his or her own challenges, and our goal as a university with a mission of student success is to focus on facilitating that success for each and every student. So if your students are having challenges, encourage them to reach out, get help. There's plenty of help, tutors and mentors and faculty and program counselors and student affairs specialists in all areas of the university are all here focused entirely on making sure that we all make it through this together and the students are successful. With that, Lexi McCarthy, who was on earlier, who is the Director of Parent and Family Relations, has been monitoring the questions that are being asked by families, by parents, and has compiled a list. And I have a list of issues and questions here that I want to go through and try to do my best to answer a lot of these questions that have popped up. So let me shift over to my list of questions here and try to fill you in on some of these things that are of great interest to you. Right out of the gate, the first question is, what are we planning to do in the spring semester? We have not made a final decision on that. Obviously, as we had to do in last spring semester and then again this fall semester, we have to make a decision under conditions of uncertainty. We don't know exactly what the world holds for us by the time we get to January, February. obviously, you're hearing the same things that we are about whether there's going to be a vaccine available and how extensive the opportunity will be for people to get vaccinated. But I will say that our intention is to make a decision very shortly. As soon as next week, we know that we have to get word out to everybody so that they can plan. And in terms of scheduling their courses, in terms of the faculty doing the kind of preparation they need to do. So we are shooting for on or about October 7th for making our final decision about how we're going to start the spring semester. Now, even starting the spring semester if we start remotely, we're still going to continue to monitor circumstances as we go along and see if there's any change that's warranted based on new circumstances. But we will have that information for you very shortly. We will continue, if we continue to operate remotely, we will continue with our practices around the discounting that we've done this semester in terms of tuition and fees and the opportunity to take extra classes over the winter or summer terms. There was a question about the availability of classes in the winter term. The question specifically was, given the fact that there's going to be a lot more interest in the winter because of this, are we gearing up the number of classes that we're going to offer? When I saw that question this afternoon when I was preparing, I walked over to the office of the provost next door and I asked that question, and the answer was absolutely. We're very focused. We're working with the deans. We're expecting that there's going to be significant demand for additional classes, and we're going to meet that demand. And even we're very able to adjust on the fly. If we find that we provide a lot of classes and they all fill up and we need more classes, we can add more classes. We can adapt to that as we go along. And I do want to say a word. There's a lot of talk about the remote classes being challenging. One of the reasons that we made this offer, this opportunity to take additional class or two at no charge, was we wanted to encourage people not to overload themselves with 5 or 6 courses and then find that they're struggling to be successful. So for students who maybe have taken a heavy load this semester and they're finding that it's a little too much, think about that next semester. You can still do that next semester if you want to take 4 courses and be a full-time student and then add a course or 2 in the summer to catch up. We're making the same offer. We're not going to charge you for that class. There are lots of resources available on our website for help. We have the WeCU website. We have RAM Connect. We have the RAM Resource Navigator, and I think the RAM Resource Navigator is really a great place to start because you go on there, you have questions, and it's set up to provide answers to a lot of the questions, the frequently asked questions that we get that the students commonly have, and that's a good place to work towards getting answers for those questions. In addition, as I referred to earlier, we're providing remote counseling services and remote health center access for our students as well. So if students are unwell, or if they're struggling with issues related to classes or related to life's challenges, we have these services available for them. Okay, I want to talk a little more about the types of classes we're running. There's a lot of talk about whether classes are synchronous or asynchronous. Synchronous meaning essentially that the class is held live remotely, such as the way we're working right now, where a professor would actually be on the screen giving a lecture. Asynchronous classes are classes where material is being placed online. Students can work on assignments. There may be a taped lecture or assignments that are posted, but there's not an actual time where the class meets face-to-face. Interestingly, we tend to get complaints about asynchronous classes, but I had an opportunity to meet with a group of students earlier this week, and we spent a good hour or so talking about their experience and some of the challenges that they're facing, and I'll say more about that in a moment too. But one of the points that a number of them made was that some of the asynchronous classes that they had were actually the best classes that they had in this format. So the fact that a class is asynchronous does not mean that it's inferior. We have Sue is also a faculty member who teaches online courses in our master's programs, and these are terrific classes with great opportunities for students to engage with each other, to engage with the professor. So if your student is taking an asynchronous class, there's not any particular reason to assume that that's somehow an inferior experience for the student. Now, we do have a lot of faculty who we're not expecting to be teaching remote classes, and they are. And again, we all started in the middle of the summer, working on this, preparing for this, and we know that we're not going to get it all right out of the gate. I mentioned that I've been talking to students. The provost, who is the chief academic officer, and the vice president for academic operations are working on putting together a student group to work directly with the deans and some of the faculty leadership so that they can raise the concerns, some of the things that I heard the other day, and perhaps other things that we have not heard, because this is a work in progress for us. We know that the faculty are working very hard, but we know that under any circumstance, things can always be done better. And if we can identify the challenges that the students are facing and we can work to improve upon them, then obviously we're going to improve the experience.
And I'll just jump in and say that I was really impressed when we were initially transitioning, because I teach in a 100% online program anyway. I have a depth of experience with online teaching, and a lot of the faculty who are used to being in the classroom reached out and said, you know, what can we do? Give us examples. And there were so many resources over the summer for faculty who wanted to really do their very best. So despite the challenge, it was another opportunity for the campus community to pull together.
And one of the complaints I've heard is that sometimes it's hard to get a hold of faculty. And faculty do have specific office hours, and you see Sue smiling right now because what has tended to start to happen now is students have developed this sense of needing 24/7 access to the faculty, and they'll send an email inquiry 10 o'clock at night, and they'll wonder why they don't get an answer right away. So if your student is complaining about access to faculty, we're not expecting the faculty to be available 24/7. We do expect them to respond in a timely manner, but the same way that the students are adapting to this new mode, so are the faculty. Again, if a faculty is not being responsive, then absolutely that's an issue we need to deal with and work on. But the students need to be reasonable about how quickly they can expect responses from faculty. The typical model of faculty access is faculty have office hours that are posted at a specific time. You may have classes at 10 and 11 in the morning, faculty member, and then have an office hour from 1 to 3 where that faculty member is guaranteed to be available. The faculty are still holding those office hours, but many of them, because we're dealing in so much of a remote world these days, and students are emailing and texting and communicating that way, the faculty are making themselves actually much more available than in traditional times. Back when I went to school, that wasn't the way it was. So there is really great access to faculty, but again, the students have to show a little bit of patience around the faculty getting back to them if they're not getting an immediate response. A little bit about our administrative offices. I mentioned a little while ago that most of our workforce is working from home at this point. We do have staff in our offices. Any office that somebody walks into, there is going to be somebody there. But what we're finding as we go through this experience is that if we're talking about things like the registrar, the bursar, the financial aid office, the admissions office, the students seem to like to have the opportunity to be able to deal with these offices remotely. One of the comments that a student made to me was that when you're on campus and you have to do business with the registrar's office, chances are you're running over there on the 10-minute break between classes, and you have to try to hustle and get your work or your business transacted. But now students can go online at their leisure and conduct their business, whether it's paying a bill or straightening out a course problem or getting a transcript or checking in with the admissions office. All these services are available. And again, I want to stress the fact that the entire Student Affairs Division, the co-curricular side of the university, is fully staffed. We have, again, people in the buildings that are open. The library's open, Sykes is open, but there are many, many people who are available through remote access who can assist the students with any possible set of problems that might arise. So if you have challenges, again, if your student is having challenges, encourage them to reach out and try to get assistance. I received a question about the fact that we recently changed our reporting of COVID-19 cases. And I do want to be clear on why we did that, because the implication was that maybe we were trying to hide something, and I want to be very clear that that's not the case. As things stand right now, I mentioned a little while ago, out of our 17,700 students, only about 1,000, slightly north of 1,000 of them are attending classes on campus. And actually, only around 500 or so, little north of 500, are living in student housing on campus. And those students are living in the apartments on South Campus. We don't have anybody living in our big residence hall towers at this point. Now, when we started reporting cases, we were reporting cases for all of our students, and 16 plus thousand of our 17,000 plus students are scattered all over the place, all over the 5-county area and beyond. And if a student who's living in Doylestown is all of a sudden has contracted the virus, that's not relevant to the safety of the campus. So we are carefully tracking the cases that occur on the campus. The health department is tracking the cases for our students who are living off campus in off-campus apartments around the community. It's important to realize that while we do have students living out in the community, we have no jurisdiction over where they live. They're living in apartments that are privately owned. They are not subject to university codes of conduct directly. They are subject to the laws and policies of Westchester Borough or West Goshen Township if they happen to be in West Goshen. And our police have no enforcement jurisdiction. So we have limited control over the types of things that go on in the neighborhoods. We do have processes. Someone asked about the behavior of the students in the community. Again, the enforcement of the law in the community is the responsibility of Westchester Borough. If we have students who are violating the law, the borough is typically going to report that to us, and that would constitute a violation of our code of conduct. And in those circumstances, we can take an action. But we're a state university. We have specific jurisdiction over our facilities and our buildings on campus, and not out in the greater community. So again, we're reporting cases among our employees, our students who are on campus, and frankly, the incidence has been very low. As of the last report I received yesterday, none of the students who are actually taking classes on campus have been reported as having the virus. I will also say a word about testing. We get a lot of questions about testing. We have been advised by our legal counsel that we cannot compel our students to be tested. We can suggest that they be tested. This is if they're asymptomatic, but we cannot compel them. That's a violation of their rights to do that. If we have students who are testing positive, We do test them. We have the opportunity to either quarantine them in residence halls on campus, or they have the option to return home and quarantine at home. So all of these practices are in place and seem to be working very effectively. So I hope I've covered all the ground related to that question. I mentioned that our enrollment has been robust. We did manage to have an uptick in enrollment. And again, we'll see how things go moving forward, but we are quite confident that we're going to come through this in great shape. The campus, as soon as we are in a position to return to normal, we will. I can tell you that while our residence halls are significantly empty right now, we had waiting lists for students wanting to live in residence halls before this all happened, and we fully expect that we will return to that circumstance once we get back to normal. We have very exciting things going on the campus. Our major building project, the Sciences and Engineering Center in the Commons, is continuing to be erected right before our eyes. It seems like most of the brick is now on the outside of the building. Those of you who haven't been to campus for a while, I think would be surprised to see how much progress has been made. We did have to push back the opening date for that because with the shutdown that occurred in March, we had to stop construction. So that has moved it back, and we'll be opening that building in the fall of 2021. But that's continuing. We're working on new academic programs. We're continuing to hire new faculty and prepare for the future of the institution. So things are very bright, and we just need to hang in there and hunker down and get through this. The students need to work hard. The faculty and staff are working hard. And we're, again, very optimistic that we're going to be able to support the success of our students and that the institution will move forward stronger than ever in the future. Now, let me see if I missed any of the questions that were listed here. I think I got them all. Let's see, one more page. One more question that I'll make a brief comment on. There's a question about parents have been hearing about the system redesign in the state system and whether that's something that Westchester has to be concerned about. There are 14 universities in the Pennsylvania state system. A number of them have been struggling with enrollment declines, primarily in the western and northern part of the state. And there are some schools that are having significant difficulties. That is not the case for Westchester. As I just mentioned, once again, we've set a record enrollment this year. We are collaborating with the other institutions to support them, to help them to get back to full health, but there are no negative consequences for the system redesign for the students who attend Westchester University. We expect to be thriving into the future, and we hope that our sister institutions will be able to return to good health and stabilize their enrollments. But that is nothing for anybody who's attending or contemplating attending Westchester University to worry about. I'll close with this. Next year is the 150th anniversary of this institution, of Westchester University in all of its various forms: normal school, state teachers college, state college, and now Westchester University. 150 years is a long time. Matter of fact, there's a big tree out on the front yard of Tanglewood. Tanglewood is our home that you see by the miracle of the green screen on the picture behind us. And there's a big old tree that's been here all 150 years. And I look at that tree a lot and think about the history of this institution. So we're going to have a year of celebration honoring the 150 years of this campus and all the great people who have come through and graduated, and the current students who are excelling and making us proud. So hopefully by that time we will be back to normal. We'll be back on campus, and by next year on Family Day, we hope we're right back out there and able to be at a football game with you and a picnic and all that great stuff. So with that, I will wrap up my remarks. I thank you all very much for your attention. I wish all of you the best of luck and be safe and let's get through this pandemic together and come out stronger than ever before. Thank you all very much.
Go Rams.
Go Rams.